Hooday, Bengal fans. He is Mon. I am Jake. This is the Bengals Pulse, the heartbeat of our Cincinnati Bengals. Mon, we have got a action-packed show tonight. A pre-draft interview with the man, Jeff Hobson, who we're about to bring on. Afterwards, we got Mock Draft 5.0. It is going to be a crazy night. Want to thank everybody for jumping in. Hooday to all you guys. Real quick, Mon, and we're going to get right after it. How's your week been, buddy?
It's good. Very busy. Finals at the college, getting the students ready for their EMT and paramedic finals, working at the fire department, getting ready for the draft. I'm excited about having Hobson on. Christmas in April. Let's do this.
Christmas in April. I'm really excited. We got the draft this week. Next week, we start spring football, so I'm excited about that, man. It's going to be a crazy couple weeks. Going to be a lot of fun. But let's get to the first half of this show. Mon, our first guest tonight is a friend of the show, a man that needs no introduction. He is a guy who you still think is the fifth Beatle. That has not been verified yet, but Mon Hobson believes he is. He has covered the Bengals for 4 decades. Let's bring him on, the man, the myth, the legend, Geoff Butch Hobson. Jeff, thank you so much for coming on the Bengals Pulse tonight, a couple days before the draft.
Well, thank you guys. You're the guys doing the heavy lifting. You got a guy over here. The great Mon is training first responders, and we got another guy coaching the youth of America. So I'm just along for the ride. So, although I would like to see you guys mock draft before we go any further.
Well, I can tell you this much, Jeff. Mine, I'm usually the one that's closest. Mon he goes off the hinges. Mine is pretty close. And I'll tell you this too, Jeff. If the Bengals take mine and they do it, we're going to be going to New Orleans, Jeff. Me, you, and Mon, we're going to be partying in New Orleans in February.
Bengal Nation's going to be upset with mine. I'm going to admit it. But I feel it in my heart it's going to happen. Sir Jeff Hobson, I just knighted you. You're the man.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. I'm probably with Mon. I'm a hinge guy. So we're probably both we're in the same category probably this time of year.
You are.
You know, I guess it's probably because we've seen so much of this stuff. We just at this point in the year, you just want to go wild, you know, because you've just it's been 5 months of relentless nothing. And, you know, so you just go a little crazy this last week.
Well, this is Mon and I, we always talk about this is our Christmas and spring. Again, this draft, Jeff, Mon and I talk about this all the time, how important this offseason is to the Bengals. They hit some home runs in free agency, I believe, fixing some spots where there were definitely some holes last year. And now this draft could be icing on the cake. And obviously a healthy Joe Burrow is a nice addition as well, right, Jeff?
Yeah, I remember now. Duke Tobin is he might hit home runs in free agency, but they like to hit doubles in the draft. So
yes,
I think that's kind of a way to look at it. Not the I don't want to say safe picks, but at this point, that's kind of what you're looking for. You're looking for a guy to you're not looking to take a gamble on a guy with the 18th pick in a draft or the 49th pick in a draft or even the 97th pick in a draft. You know, let's get a guy that can come in and we know he can play.
Yes, I will agree with you on that, but I don't think I want to show you my mock then, Jeff, because you will be very disappointed. Let me ask you, Jeff, because by the way, congratulations, your 24th year on Bengals.com.
Yes,
congratulations, man. You are again. You are the man. Mon and I have followed you all 24 of those years, but congratulations. I want to know real quick, what is your favorite Bengals draft memory? What is your favorite Bengals draft memory?
probably I'm going to be writing about it. I'm actually going to be writing about this right TJ Hushmanzada and draft, but how that was a great draft. Justin Smith became a 5-time Pro Bowler. He didn't not in Cincinnati, but I mean, he was also a hell of a player in Cincinnati too. And then you pick Rudy Johnson, who's the all-time leading rusher. In the 4th round, in the 2nd round, Chad Johnson is the all-time leading receiver. And in the 7th round, you take a guy. Oh, by the way, he's the 5th leading receiver of all time in Bengals history. Holds the record for most catches in a season for the club. So that's a hell of a draft. But it's also a draft where Mike Brown was thinking, probably if he hadn't drafted Achilles Smith in '99 and they hadn't gone out and signed John Kitna the month before, he was the only guy in a room that thought Drew Brees was worthy of the 4th pick in the draft. And it's to me it was it showed that because nobody thought Drew Brees was clearly 30 other teams thought that too, because he didn't go until the 32nd pick. But I think it just shows you how things go in this league. And that Mike, when you get down to it, I think he's a really good judge of quarterbacks. Now you can criticize him for Achilles Smith, but he's been more right than wrong in a very difficult. Even these guys today, Chicago, New England, Washington, they don't know if these guys are going to go. It's a tough science, but Mike, more often than not, Boomer Esiason, Ken Anderson, Carson Palmer, Andy Dalton, Joe Burrow, Drew Brees, been more right than wrong. But I thought that was an interesting draft just because of the way the whole weekend turned out. You just never know. From the 4th pick to the 7th round, you got to let it play out.
And you're right, Jeff. I mean, that might be the best. That's definitely top 5 best drafts in Bengals history by far.
Well,
that's an incredible draft.
You can't forget 06, which you had 5 guys play at least a dozen years. Jonathan Joseph, Andrew Whitworth, Frosty Rucker, Tomatop Peko, and the supplemental pick that year, Ahmad Brooks.
Oh,
but
that's right.
We may look back on it, but those may pale in comparison with 2020. Burrow, Higgins, and Logan Wilson.
And Mon and I talk about that, as being a top one. Go ahead, Mon.
You mentioned Justin Smith, but Ahmad Brooks, Mark Roman, they all wound up in San Francisco and had great careers there. They had a great run. They became like Cincinnati West for a while there. Jeff, it's been a very, very tough week for Duke Tobin and his family and the Bengals front office. We all know what Bill Tobin did for the Colts and the Bears. He had a big say-so in that '85 Bears Super Bowl team. What did he mean to the Cincinnati Bengals organization and preparation for drafts? I mean, what did he mean to the Bengals front office?
Well, he did so many things. I mean, he was not only an area scout. I mean, this guy was a dyed-in-the-wool scout. He was an area scout. When he first came to the Bengals, he scouted the Southeast, and then he later transitioned to the Midwest region. But all the while, he was a tremendous cross-checker too. He would cross-check guys had any questions, all the guys actually serve as cross-checkers anyway to double-check each other's work. But Bill would go above and beyond. He and Mike Brown would compare their lists at the beginning of draft week. Bill had a list of guys, and Mike would not only ask him about the guys in his region, but about the guys throughout the draft. And he said, like he told me after Bill passed, he said, if he told me the guy could play, the guy could play. And I don't think there's any greater compliment that a scout can get, that a guy who spent 50 years in the personnel business can get. But he was also a guy, got to remember, he came in, he was 62 years old, and he had already built, one of the greatest teams of all time. He'd already been the lead guy for 3 other teams. And in this stage of his career, he was really a mentor. And he really helped Duke Tobin, his son, build the current staff. You know, I mean, he was a mentor to guys like Steve Adisific and Mike Potts and Christian Sarkisian and Andrew Johnson. The guys are doing the heavy lifting now. I mean, they learned a lot from Bill, you know, and so he did a little bit of everything. I mean, he was a great guy to have in the room when the clock is ticking. Been a veteran of so many drafts, you know. I mean, the guy just he had a huge impact on the organization.
Prayers to his family. That had to have been a shock, but absolutely, he. I'm never going to forget the exchange he had with Mel Kiper. That's going to go down in draft lore forever. That was a classic.
Yeah, I mean, it was a. I saw where Mel sent condolences as well. I mean, and I don't know. Bill had the last say on that one. The quarterback. I mean, he signed Jim Harbaugh, and Jim Harbaugh, he didn't take Trent Dilfer, right? Was what Mel was criticizing him for? You know?
Absolutely, it was.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Bill should probably be congratulated for that, as well
Yeah.
as he signed the guy that took him to the AFC Championship game a year later. So I think Bill came out looking pretty good.
He sure did.
Well,
he sure did.
Definitely thoughts and prayers of the family. One of the best to ever do it. Jeff, let me ask you this. I don't know how you feel about. I'm a huge Brock Bowers guy, Jeff, and
there's his mock draft right there. That's his mock draft.
I actually traded up, Jeff. I traded up, but let's not get that. This is what I want to ask you, Jeff. Brock Bowers is again. I know I'm not the only one. There's a lot of Bengal fans out there that are enamored by this guy and his ability and what he can do on the field. Obviously, losing Tyler Boyd, he's a guy that can really come in and fit that puzzle piece. A little bit more athletic than Gesicki, although I like the addition of Gesicki. But let me ask you, because the Bengals, again, we all wanted to see tight end early last year in day 1 and day 2. We didn't see that. Are the Bengals in love with Brock Bowers as much as myself and a lot more of the fan base? Or is this just another pipe dream, so to speak, for us Bengal fans?
I mean, I just look at their usage of tight ends, right? They're a 3-receiver team. They're a 3-wide team, right? And they've signed a very good tight end in Mike Gesicki. So, you know, 11 personnel, you know, wide receivers. Now, I don't know. I mean, maybe they like Brock Bowers. I don't know, but this team has never historically, very rarely have they drafted a tight end in the first round. They did it in 2013 and haven't since. Couldn't see them doing it again. I mean, if they didn't draft Kyle Pitts, it'd be hard for me to see him draft Brock Bowers.
Okay, good. Yeah, good point. Good point. And obviously, they do love 11 personnel. I just see Brock. Brock is so much more of a hybrid than what you see usually in a tight end. He is a guy that's athletic enough that he could play that third receiver in that 11 personnel. But again, you know, I'm a get the quarterback weapons guys. I'm one of those guys because I'm like you, Jeff. I think whoever the Bengals choose at 18 or wherever they do in the first round, if they move up or move down, it's got to be a guy that can make an immediate impact on this football team. I'm not looking for a backup guy that is going to take time to develop. This is a Bengals Super Bowl team right now. We don't know what the situation with T. Higgins. To me, I want to see a guy that can make an impact right away, Jeff.
Well, I think T. Higgins is playing this year. Mike Gesicki is playing this year. Mike Gesicki is playing this year. I'm thinking about Joe Burrow's window. So I'm trying to make Joe Burrow better. He's already got Gesicki. He's already got Higgins. Okay, let's go to the next route. I saw a question there about Bowers in the slot. They got Gesicki in the slot. They got Jamar Chase in the slot. I think they're pretty good there. But you know, what do they need? They lost their nose tackle. They lost. They're trying to replace right tackle. I think they got a pretty good right tackle in Trent Brown. I think that's going to – he and Gesicki, I think when they go to the Super Bowl, they're going to be writing about these guys. In the week between the Super Bowl and the AFC Championship game, they're going to be writing about Gesicki, and they're going to be writing about Trent Brown. But, the Bengals are in a great situation where they can get a right tackle for the future and have him ease in behind Brown if they want to do that. Or they can – there's a couple defensive tackles there early where they can replace Reader. If you want, and I understand it, Jake, I get it. Get weapons for Burrow. I get it. But you got to think wide receiver, I think, instead of tight end. And you can get a wide receiver anywhere almost. In this day and age, you're going to get a receiver that can come in and help you. The last 5 years are littered with guys with third round, second round, and first round guys who come in and are factors right away. And remember, they get 2 third-round picks. So I think now you're starting to think about the weapons at that point. I think in the first couple rounds, you got to think about the trenches, both trenches. So, I think that's the way I'm looking at it. I mean, if they're looking at it that way, I'm not sure. But I know in this era of Zach Taylor with Duke Tobin and Mike Brown, big is they seem to be going to big a little bit. Maybe not early, but through the rest of the draft, and now they got a shot to get some big people early. So that's my sense. This is going to be a big player coming up in more ways than one.
Jeff, you don't know. Jeff, you have just made my life hell. Now I got to listen to Mon say how much that Jeff is on his side. Oh, Jeff, you just made my life.
Sorry about that.
Jay.
And then you know what? Mon and I might have egg on our face when they take Bowers at 18.
That's right.
That would make me happy.
Jake, let me have some happiness. My Sixers are on right now, and they're driving me freaking crazy. Okay.
Yeah.
I just need.
Well, they're just getting ready for that conference final.
Okay. Celtics guy here. Okay. No, but the Sixers are driving me nuts. Okay. Forget basketball real quick. Jeff, I'm a trench guy. I've been saying that since the season ended. I've seen a lot of mock drafts have 5, 6 offensive linemen go before 18. I know the Bengals don't trade up in the first round. They did it once with Kajana Carter. I know they don't do it. But if they see an offensive lineman that they really want, do you think this could be the draft? They move up a couple slots to secure one? Or I have them in my mock trading back and getting another top 100 pick and picking an offensive lineman a little later. But if there's one of those elite guys that might be within reach, do you think they could trade up potentially?
I think you just answered your own question. They don't do it. They haven't done it since Kajana. They've only done it once, once in 30 years. So you just answered your own question. I think they're more likely. They're more likely to do the 2012 model where they traded back and they still got their guy. They traded back. Remember, they traded back from I think 17, and they traded back and they traded back from 21 to 27, and they still got Kevin Zeitler, the guy they would have taken at 21. So I can see them. They could actually maybe trade back, and maybe they still get one of those tackles, and then pick off a guy that you're talking about, another top 100 guy. That would seem more likely to be Mon than anything, really. I mean, I think they think that tackle. I think they think that tackle class is pretty deep. You could go 7 or 8 and come out of there at 18 with a pretty good one.
Yeah, the tackles I like, and a lot of the mocks and reputable pundits, I just don't think they're going to be there at 18. But we'll see. There's a lineman I like. Well,
I'm going to try to talk you off the bridge here. Now there are going to be 6 quarterbacks are going to go, and 3 receivers are going to go, right? So that's 9. Bowers is going to go. That's 10. Don't worry about him, on. You'll get your guy. There'll be a guy there. You're all right. There's going to be an edge guy go too. So, and maybe 2 edge guys goes, and maybe a cornerback. You're going to be fine.
Jeff, can you get Joel Embiid's knee healed up for me, and I'll really be fine, okay?
Oh, God. That's enough NBA. I do not want to talk about NBA anymore with you, Mon. Okay, Jeff, you should watch this guy with the Sixers. It's really sad. It breaks my heart.
The Celtics are just as exasperating. So.
They are going to be tough to beat. I'll be the first to admit that. Okay, we'll talk about the Sixers later. Trags was on the show once. He's a big guy. So
Jeff, let me ask you, because Mon and I, we have seen a lot of the writing, how deep, and you said it earlier, how deep this draft is with the O-line guys and with the wide receivers. We've also seen that, as a team, if you want to get one of those elite guys, you got to take that position, at least one of those positions in the top 50, because of, again, you're going to get possibly an elite guy in the second round, in that early mid second round this year, especially at wide receiver, I think. But let me ask you this, Jeff: do the Bengals? You're in the building. I know you can't give us any secrets, but let me ask you this: is there a player on the board that you feel like if they are sitting at 18, the Bengals are running to the podium to turn in his name? Is there anybody out there, realistically, of course, that might pop up at 18 that the Bengals just run up to the podium?
No, because I think they've hashed it out and they know what they want. They know what might be there. They know what might not be there. I mean, it's a pretty clear universe of players. I think is going to be there. I mean, I personally think there's going to be at least there's going to be at least 5 quarterbacks go, probably 6. But I do, and then a corner, an edge, the 3 receivers, so you can kind of figure out what's going to be left. So I don't think there's going to be, oh my God, that's the guy, because I think they think there's going to be a group, like most years, there's going to be a group of 4 guys that are going to be, it's not going to be like the last 2 years where they're picking at the end of the first round and they actually had guys who they gave first round grades to, Dax Hill and Miles Murphy, actually be there. Then they might have been running. But I think at 18, they feel like, and Steve Radicevic said this to me, the director of pro scouting, said this to me a couple weeks ago. This is a rare draft where when you're picking from 18 to 25, you're actually going to get a guy who deserves a first round grade. Usually that's only 12 or 13 guys, but this year is actually as many, maybe go up to 25. Same thing in the second round, he said. So, and I'm not sure, we talk about, an elite guy and an elite guy here. I'm not sure, maybe in the first round you can talk about that. But I think in the other rounds, it's so much, it's kind of more fit. It's more fit. Does the guy fit what you need, and does it fit your offense? Yeah, he may be a to the eye, you may say, oh, he's not an elite guy. He doesn't do this, he doesn't do that. But he may do exactly what the Bengals need him to do and how he fits into their offense. So I think when you get into the second, third round, later in the draft, you can't get caught up. I don't think you can get caught up in the the measurements. I think you have to get, they're going on interviews, they're going on, game tape and their own scheme, which I think is something that gives the Bengals a little bit of they're kind of a unique team in the sense they've got the same head coach for 6 years, the same system, not only the same offensive system, but the same defensive system and special team system. They got the same organization for 6 years. And that, I think, aids them in picking a guy who you might say, oh my God, I don't have him on my top 75. Yeah, but these guys did for whatever reason because of the fit.
And definitely, like you said, the consistency of this coaching staff, who's in the building. I mean, this is, we don't think about it because it's just been a crazy 6 years, but it is a very consistent staff and scheme for the most part, right?
Oh, for the whole thing. I mean, it's not only on offense but defense too. I mean, that's one of the reasons, a major reason they hired an offensive guy, because to replace Marvin. Because if you remember, they had gone through, Jay Gruden was here and gone. Hugh Jackson was here and gone. They got other jobs. They left, and they kept retooling their playbook, and that's tough to do. Well, if your head coach is an offensive guy with the same playbook, that ain't going anywhere. So I think that's kind of been a linchpin of the this current regime has been consistency.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Jeff, in
absolutely.
closing, I want to ask you one final question about obviously we're still trying to figure out Joe Burrow and his wrist and all that, but you mentioned that you saw him. He looks healthy. Looks like he put on some weight. Everything seems to be going well with Joe Burrow, correct?
Yes, I mean that's from what Zach keeps saying, from my eyeballing him a couple times, he looks fine. But I mean, I'm sure. I mean, I think. Would you know if he wasn't? Probably not. But I mean, I think from what Zach is saying, from what he looks like, from what people are saying, the fact that he showed up, I think last week at the Kelsey podcast, would show things I think are headed in the right direction.
Absolutely. Yeah, that
That's
was
exciting. That's
yeah.
exciting. Yeah, that's exciting. Again, with OTAs around the corner, hopefully we've heard news that maybe he'll be spinning it around a little bit. We'll see. Jeff, before you get out of here, man, where
I just want him.
obviously,
I just want him spinning it. I just want him spinning it for the opener.
yes, I know, right? Yes, that's it. That's what's important for sure. Jeff, before you get out of here, obviously, I know everybody knows where to find you, but where can people find Jeff Hobson, and obviously in all of your writings and all your coverage for the Bengals?
Yes, I appreciate that, Coach. Bengals.com, right, the team's website, which I think the seventh regular season game this year will be the 500th game covered by Bengals.com, which
That is
was up in
crazy.
it was up and
That's
running
crazy.
in 2000. So it's a lot of games.
That's crazy.
And then also on X, I guess, and it's my name, Geoff Hobson, Hobson Sin, CIN. That's my the X handle with the face of one Tony Canigliaro, the great Red Sox legend who played right field. The
I asked you that question.
leaguer,
one of the biggest what ifs ever in sports history.
the youngest American leaguer to hit 100 homers. I got a picture here. I don't know if you can see it, but it's my opening day. I don't know if you can see that. Hank, I don't know. Anyway,
I can see it.
Oh yeah,
I don't know
I
if you can
can't
see that, but that's Hank Aaron and Tony Canigliaro on opening day, 1975, on a what if, and that was Tony C making a second comeback. And at that point, Hank was the all-time home runs leader, and that was a what if. That was a what if picture. If if Tony could Tony have given Hank a run in that ballpark, right-handed hitter, youngest American leaguer to hit 100 homers. What if?
Jeff, when he was hit,
Hank Aaron is the true home run champion, by the way.
Yeah, I agree. When Tony C was hit, what year? I mean, how far along was he? What year was that career-wise?
He was 19 when he made his big league debut on opening day, 1964. He grew up about 15 miles from Fenway Park, and his first at bat at Fenway Park, he hit a home run into the net. 1964, 19 years old, the youngest American leaguer to lead the league in homers. He was 20, and when he got hit, in the eye, he was 22, and he had 104 career homers.
That's crazy, Jeff.
Yeah, he
missed 1968. He came back and played in 69 and 70. He hit 24 homers and 36 homers. And the next year he got traded to California, and he had trouble with his eye, and retired in 71. Came back in 75, a comeback. First time up at Fenway, base hit, center field, 75. I mean, the guy passed away at 45. He had a heart attack, was in a semi-coma for 8 years, passed away at 45. Star-crossed life, star-crossed career, but the guy never gave up.
No, it's like sort of like Greg Cook in a way.
Yeah. I was thinking. Well, no injury with Casanova, but that's another guy who just, retired early. But
Well, Casanova had bad knees. He had bad knees, I think, but he retired at 27.
That's right.
Mike Reed for the Bengals too retired young,
Yeah.
and
Yes,
it's
because he could, because he didn't, amazing thing what Mike Reed said was when he went in and he retired, he told PP he retired. He thought it would be kind of a rather cold interview, but he said Paul Brown was great. I think they talked for a long time, and even though Paul was losing a great player, he was always a guy that Paul felt like football was always, it wasn't going to be for your whole life, and he always preached that to his players. So I think he really believed in that he believed in what he would call your after football, your after life's work,
Yeah, Casanova did go to medical school. You're right. And Mike Reed went on to write a bunch of songs, became a Grammy Award winner. The Bengals' best players in the 70s retired young. But one day we got to have you on and talk about the 75 Bengals, because that's like a team I'm fascinated with. We got to do that one day.
The 75 Red Sox, fascinating team.
We'll just do the year 70.
And as you know, Mon, being a Sixers fan, 50 years, it's the 50-year anniversary of the Celtics beating the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar Bucks in the finals.
That's
the
right.
Oscar Robertson Kareem Bucks of 73-74. The Dave Cowens out of Covington, out of Newport, Kentucky, was the MVP that season, I think.
What I remember from the 70s is the Sixers losing to the Trailblazers and Bill Walton as a rookie. That killed me. But I am old enough to remember that. I was a young man at the time, young kid. But Jeff, thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate it.
I appreciate it. I was just telling the wife about Andrew Toney, the Boston Strangler, who you know.
That's right. Oh, he could shoot. He could shoot.
Only against the Celtics.
Trags was talking about him. That's Trag's favorite all-time player. Ask him.
Yeah, the Boston Strangler. He can only shoot against the Celtics.
We're winning 25-18 right now. Yeah, I know. But, oh, well, we'll see. Good luck to your Celtics. Good luck.
Jeff, thank you so much.
We'll see you in the finals. Coach Jake, thanks very much for having me on.
Jeff, man, thank you so much. You're the man. We just appreciate it. We love you so much. And be safe, be healthy, have a great week. It's going to be a busy one, but we'll definitely let's catch back up before the Bengals kick off in the fall.
Let's do it again soon, man. Let's do it again before we break.
All right.
Buddy. Thanks, Jeff. Hooday.
See you, Jeff. What a great guy.
Man. Oh, God, I love Jeff.
He's the best.
He is the best.
I mean, he's a Celtic fan. I still like him. It's okay.
Well, and interesting things he had to say about this Bengals team and the direction maybe they're going this year in the draft. But once again, Jeff, thank you so much. If you guys don't check Jeff out, you've got to. He is just incredible, the stuff he does for Bengals.com. Again, and you can check him out on Twitter as well. All right, Mon, second half of the show. Here we go. Mock 5.0 is Justin. Is he ready to go? Is he here?
Justin's ready to go. Let's do it.
Let's bring Justin on. There's our buddy Justin Wells. Justin, thank you for joining us, bud.
Yep, it's good to be here. How are y'all doing?
Good.
We're good. Justin, I'm going to warn you, Mon is extremely annoying right now about the 76ers. So listen, anytime during this show, Mon might stop it to talk about his 76ers. It's obnoxious, Justin.
Didn't they already lose? Aren't they down 0-1?
They are, but they're winning right now. Come on, why you guys got to be so negative?
Waiting for Joel Embiid to get hurt again. That's all.
That's a given. But it's Mr. Positivity. That's right. I'm changing today. I'm Mr. Positive. All right.
Yeah, you got the mustache back. Mr. Positive is back, guys. This is mock draft 5.0. This is it, guys. This is it. I have no idea who you guys have drafted. We the three of us sent in our mock drafts to Eric this weekend. He has put this whole thing together. I cannot wait to see what you guys did with yours. And obviously, I'm excited to talk about mine because mine is going to help the Bengals get to New Orleans in February. Eric, are you there? Let's bring Eric
I'm
on.
here.
I took a long
Eric.
snapper in the first round.
Eric, let me ask you: is our special guest judge here yet?
Not yet. No.
Okay, all right. So hopefully he is coming on soon. Eric, why don't you explain a little bit how this is going to go with Mock Draft 5.0?
Sure. So we want to do this a little bit different. We're not going to do a live mock draft where we go through. This is going to be pretty much your official picks, who you think is going to be there. I know we all use the Pro Football Network mock simulators. I don't know if you had to go through 75 to get your guys, but we got the guys. So what we're going to do is we'll go kind of a round table. We'll do Jake's first. Jake, you talk about what you did, who you chose, why you chose them.
Okay.
Have a little conversation amongst the three of y'all. And then we'll go to Justin and do the same. And then we'll save Mon for the last. And I think after the show, we'll tweet each one of these out and maybe create a poll to see who won mock draft. And Sixers must have made a free throw because Mon's going crazy up there.
All Bengals, man. I'm not worried about the Sixers. It's all Bengals.
Okay. So we're 36 minutes in, so let's go ahead and get started with Jake's. Let me throw it up on the screen. All of them are going to go up there at once. So when Jake or when Mon and Justin audibly gasp, that's your cue to take off. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Let's see.
Throw that.
You drafted a punter.
Throw that thing
in
of
the
beauty
first.
Yep.
Mon's watching a repeat on ESPN Classic from 82-83 of the Sixers. So
Okay.
Hey, that's possible, Justin. You never know with Mon. That is possible. All right. This is my mock draft 5.0.
I like this draft.
I'll tell you guys what I did was the only trade I made was I traded up 3 spots. I gave up our second round pick next year in 2025 to move up 3 spots. And obviously, Brock Bowers was sitting there. I think I traded with the Colts. So I'll talk about Brock first. Again, you guys know how I feel about this guy. I just think this is one of the most dynamic players in this draft. I think it is a guy, and I know a lot of Bengal fans are like, well, we have Brock Bowers already and Mike Gesicki. Well, to me, Brock Bowers he's a little bit more athletic. He seems to me more like a guy that can fit in that slot and take over that Tyler Boyd position. You guys just heard Jeff say, obviously we're in 11 personnel quite a bit, the 3 receiver set. But Brock Bowers, to me, is much more of a hybrid wide receiver, tight end type that we have seen in a long time. I just love the guy. I think he's crazy athletic, and I think with Joe Burrow, I think this just makes sense. And you guys know how I feel. I want a guy in that first round that's going to make an immediate impact on this football team. Do you want me to keep going, Eric, and talk about the rest, or do you want the guys to talk a little bit about Brock Bowers and me trading up?
I mean, you can go through your whole draft, and then we'll get their comments on it.
So what I did after that was, obviously, you guys see it on there. I went in the second round and started working on the trenches a little bit. Cooper Beebe was still sitting there. There were a couple other guys that I liked, but I feel like Cooper Beebe, with his size, is a guy that might be able to play some tackle as well in the league. So I think he's a guy that you might be able to move around the offensive line a lot. Obviously, again, good size and extremely good RAS scores with Cooper Beebe as well. With the first pick in the third round, Justin, I know you'll like this one. I went out and got Ricky Pearsall. Again, a guy, Justin, that I did not know a lot about until you started talking about him on the show. And as I have followed what this guy has done, I just think he fits. I think he's an incredible dynamic wide receiver that can, again, play some slot, play some boundary receiver, gives the Bengals a little bit more of flexibility in what they can do with Ricky Pearsall, and a guy, again, that can play some of that Tyler Boyd slot position, obviously, that will be missing. Again, Brock Bowers and Ricky Pearsall in day one and day two, with an offensive line guy that could be the future for the Bengals. I think those 3 picks alone, if that happens, I'm going to be extremely excited about that. Again, this Bengals offense, there is a window, and we've watched these receivers get injured throughout the years, and we've watched a huge drop off when guys go down, and that's why, again, I think Brock Bowers and Ricky Pearsall just makes sense. Last pick of the 3rd round, I go McKinley Jackson, the big guy from Texas A&M. Again, a guy that can play nose for the Bengals. Maybe fills in and fits that spot for DJ Reader since he is gone. I think the Bengals have a couple of those tweener guys that can play that 3 technique, but I like McKinley Jackson as a guy that can play the middle of that defense. So I go McKinley Jackson there. So first 4 picks, the tight end, the offensive lineman, the D tackle, and the wide receiver. Round 4, I went running back. Audric, is it Estime? It's Estime, right? That's how you pronounce it?
I think so.
Again, I don't know if you guys read, but there's a lot of hype around this guy right now. He's actually climbing up the boards, and he was sitting there in the 4th round. I think at that point it was best player available for me. So I went Audric, and hopefully we fill out that running back room with Zach Moss and obviously Chase Brown. At 149, I go with Zach Zinter. I know, he's got an injury right now, but this is the 5th round, guys, and this is the round where if you're going to take a leap on somebody, I think this is a great leap for the Bengals. If Zach Zinter is sitting there, he is a guy that if he ends up getting healthy and being the player I think he could be, I've seen a lot of draft guys talk about if this guy was healthy, you could be talking about him in the late 1st round. He's that good of a football player. And the Bengals, if they take a leap in the 5th round on Zach Zinter and he ends up being decent, you got Zach Zinter and now Cooper Beebe as the future of this offensive line. At 194, DeAndre Prince was like a best player available / fill out a cornerback. The Bengals love corners, special teams guy. He's got good size to him, and I figure he's again a guy that possibly makes this roster or not, but maybe fits this Bengals scheme. We go into the last pick of the 6th round for the Bengals, and Caden Wallace, the offensive tackle for Penn State. Again, a guy with good size to him. Not really sure why he's that far down the list, but Justin, maybe you can talk a little bit about Caden Wallace. But I know my dad's a big Penn State guy and a Big 12 guy, so I've heard good things about him. I don't know too much about him, but again, it's the last pick in the 6th round, so I'm going to try to fill out the rest of that offensive line. Because honestly, guys, I don't want to see 4 guys in that offensive line room that were there last year, including Mr. Jackson Carman. So 7th round, the first pick in the 7th round, I go Evan Anderson, a guy I've heard a lot about. The Bengals like this guy. And again, another defensive tackle that fits in the room. A little bit more of a 3-tech guy, but again, like I said, I've read a lot about him. The Bengals like him, and he's a 7th round guy. Listen, guys, the Bengals have hit a couple times in the 7th round with defensive tackles, so why not take a leap with him? And then my last pick of the draft, I go with the big leg, the punter from Iowa, Torrey Taylor. I like this guy a lot. I think he comes in and maybe gives some competition and possibly takes the job from Brad. We'll see. But I do think the Bengals need to bring in some competition there at the punter position. Why not go out and get the big leg guy from Iowa? That is my final mock, guys. What do you think?
Yeah, you want me to go first?
Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly, it's a pretty good draft. Now, when you look at the offensive line, I don't think BB's really going to be much of a threat to play tackle because he's a little short in the arms. But you're talking about a guy who's definitely a potential 3-position player on the interior of the offensive line, and will I would think he would push for playing time right off the bat. He's going to be your guy to be the immediate impact on that group. And as you mentioned, Zinter would be probably a red shirt, but has a high impact, a high upside. That's a really nice get. We've talked about him before as a potential red shirt candidate. Maybe you get him back late in the season. Yeah, Wallace is a nice, if you can get him there late in the 6th, that's a nice project right tackle, maybe potential swing tackle. Yeah, I mean, that really boosts your offensive line room, does a good job of rebuilding that group. 2 320+ pound defensive tackles, which is exactly what they need. Estime, we've talked about him before as a potential running back for the Bengals in this draft. He's a really big body at running back. He would kind of give you a nice replacement for Mixon in there. And yeah, Prince is a fast guy. I think he ran sub 4.4. And I'm a big fan of Torrey Taylor. And yeah, we've talked about Ricky Pearsall. And yeah, Bowers is kind of the interesting pick at the top of the draft. I've mentioned that before, that I think if you have the opportunity to get him and it makes sense, even though I don't think it's as big a need as offensive and defensive line, he's a weapon. And I hate going back to the comparison I've made in the past, but he's a very Aaron Hernandez-like player. And despite what happened off the field, Hernandez was about as good as they come as a tight end. So,
yeah. Jake, I love the draft. I think Jackson, I like him. In the 3rd round, maybe 4th or 5th. I think you drafted him a little early, but Cooper Beebe and Zach Zinter, they're going to be future starters for years on that offensive line. That's huge. Pearsall with the 80th pick is going to be major value. Yeah, you're right about Evan Anderson. The Bengals have met with him. A lot of people are saying he's a draft sleeper. I think he'll come in and potentially make the team. The running back from Notre Dame, he's the Bengals have 2 smaller guys right now. Zach Moss and Chase Brown are 200, 205 pounds and need a bigger running back. And Estime is that guy. Zinter's the winner, though. Before he broke his leg, he was really highly regarded. And as Justin said, it's going to be a red shirt year. I think he could be a long-term starter on the offensive line. That is huge. I think it's a good draft. I love Cooper Beebe. I'm not crazy about Bowers, but if he's a Bengal, trust me, I'm not going to root against the guy. The guy's a hell of a player. He's a top 15 NFL player. And I just, I'm stuck on the trenches, but I think it's a good draft.
So I think you might have given up a little too much to go up to pick 15. I think Lap speculated earlier today you might only have to give up this year's 3rd round pick to go up there. But I'm going to hold comment on the rest of the draft, and I'm going to bring in a pinch hitter to give you a comment.
Hey, there he is. What's up, my man?
I looked at this draft.
Zim, tell him, Zim.
I looked at this draft, and I don't even. You guys aren't hype enough. All right, listen to me.
Thank you, Zim. Thank you.
Listen to me. If Brock Bowers comes to Cincinnati, it is the equivalent of the Bengals getting Jamar Chase. In this regard, it is what happens with great organizations when you give them the tools, the resources to succeed. You want a plan that talks about what you're going to do after T. Higgins, you're gonna work. Justin just talked about Aaron Hernandez. What did Tom Brady do later in his career? He worked inside to outside, so not working this outside stuff. So you're now working inside. You're now able to be multiple. You're now going 12 personnel. Right now the Bengals have a big issue going on. The biggest issue that everybody keeps on trying to put around the Bengals is that, oh, you're going to get Joe Burrow killed. You're going to get him hit and all these different things. You want to know why? Because the Bengals have the most predictable offense in football. 70% of their snaps are in 11 personnel. When you go into AFC championship games and you get a Tyler Boyd out or anything like that, you're always looking to the outsides. You double them up. Nobody's scared of your run attack. Nobody's scared of Zach Moss. Nobody's scared of any of that stuff. But if you get a Brock Bowers, it is a no-tail sign, and it's exactly what Zach was supposed to bring here from the Rams. A no-tail sign when you're under center, whether in a shotgun or whatever you want to do, you have this guy that can be put in line or out flexed out, and Bowers gives you the multiplicity that you need to make sure that everything you want to happen can happen, and defenses cannot just pin their ears and just go and attack Burrow. The number one thing that stops a lot of teams is the hesitancy from the defense, and the Bengals never give anybody any hesitancy. All the edges are able to shoot. Like when they play the Browns, like guys are just shooting upfield. They're doing whatever they want because the threat of the run isn't even existent, and the threat of a Drew Sample leaking out, who cares? You got Brock Bowers to go and lead. He will cook any linebacker. He will imagine Mike Hilton on a Brock Bowers. Think about this. You got to think about like all the different things that you could do with life without T. Higgins. And for 1 year, one ride only, you got Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Brock Bowers, and Yoshi. It's the craziest offense. It's a top 3 offense in football. And the best thing about it, and I just spent 20 minutes just glazing Brock Bowers, but the best part about this is that the number one person that will say, I want the trenches. Give me the trenches. Give me the trenches. You know what you did? You solidified the trenches. You gave us Cooper Beebe. You gave us McKinley Jackson. You gave us Zach Zinter. So all the people that say that, if you use the first round pick on Brock Bowers, you don't care about the trenches. Ha ha! I have my starting guard on the roster already. I have a McKinley Jackson, which is another body, represents 200, 300 snaps, maybe year one, that I'm now putting on the defensive line. I got Zach Zinter for the future, and I've done everything that you guys want to do with pick 18, 49, whatever. I've done all of that with this draft right here. I think this is beautiful work. I love it.
Well, and I gave up a second round pick for 2025 to move up. I don't think.
Oh, that's terrible. This draft is awful. Never mind. I changed the whole.
Nate, you Venmo'd him $100. I know that.
I did not. I don't have $100. What are you talking about? I'm a teacher. Listen, I want to say this. I want to say this really quick too about this situation, Zim. Something you just talked about. We've heard Zach Taylor since Dan Pitcher has become the offensive coordinator say that the biggest difference is going to be offense. And I will not be surprised if the Bengals line up a lot more in 12 than they do in 11 this year. And what we're used to seeing, I'm telling you now, Dan Pitcher is I feel like Zach Taylor is going to give him the reins a little bit. And then we're going to see Burrow under center more. We're going to see more play action, and we're going to see more 12 personnel. And Brock Bowers and Mike Gesicki on the field at the same time, Zim. And we are all 5 going to be meeting up in New Orleans in February. I'm telling you right now.
You might as well book it now, bro. I'm telling you right now. You know the biggest mistake, and I always said this when they picked Jamar Chase, is that when you got Creed Humphreys of the world, and you got at the time I was big on Cosme and all these different things. It wasn't that, it represented Jamar Chase represented them deviating from the trenches or whatever. It was what they did afterwards. And the Jackson Carman pick is one of the biggest flops in Bengals history, because at that point you had to make sure that you solidified the trenches, or you had quality guys in the next picks afterwards if you're going to make such a ballsy, gutsy pick with Jamar Chase. And you picking Cooper Beebe, or it could be Mahogany. It could be there's a bunch of guys. I think that they have an opportunity in this draft to get a stellar top tier guard, man. I really do.
Yeah, I agree. And again, I think you can get him in the second round. I mean, I think we've heard a lot of guys talking about the second round this year is the sweet spot. There's going to be a lot of good players in the second round. All right, Justin is up next.
Yeah, let me throw it up there. Give me just a second.
Don't get scared on
let's
me
see-
now, Justin.
Let's
Here we
see
go.
what
Let
Justin.
her
Let's
rip.
see what Justin did here.
You gotta load up the clip and let it rip sometimes.
Well, I don't even know if we need to see Mon and Justin's. I mean, I
Here
feel
we
like
go.
there we go. Here we go.
All right, so I got a lot of the same positions. Wait, can't see.
Eric, I think he's going to scroll down a little bit there. There we go.
All right, so Baltano was there at 18, so I went ahead and I got him. Darius Robinson was kind of a surprise sitting there in the second round. I know he's an edge, but he's 280 pounds, so maybe he grows into a 3 technique that you can work with. Honestly, I didn't do a bunch of mocks, so I didn't get it to the point where I got Pearsall in the third. So Walker is kind of my fill-in, but hopefully Pearsall's there at 80. I got my fingers crossed. Dwayne Carter would be your nose to replace what we've lost there. Cade Stover, tight end at Ohio State, is your, obviously he's not Brock Bowers, but poor man's Brock Bowers. Brandon Coleman is a uber athletic guard. I think could be a great fit at 149. Tyrone Tracy, another guy with a high RAS score. And then at that point, we're just going BPAs and Jake, I had to kind of follow your lead with Torrey Taylor there.
I love that. That's hysterical. We both got on the set. All right. Go ahead, Mon. You want to go first? Mon, why don't you go first, and then we'll let Zim grade it out. What do you think, Mon?
I like the Fotano pick. He's very versatile. I've been high on him. Robinson, you can rush the passer. I know he's highly regarded. You can never have enough pass rushers. Right now it's Trey Hendrickson. That's about it. Walker's a super athlete. I know he had some issues catching the ball, but he's super athletic. Carter, I like a lot. Definitely need bodies in the defensive line. Coleman, official visit with the Bengals. The Bengals are interested in him. So he could be a future starter at guard. I think he could have a long career. The other guys, I know Tracy, the running back from Purdue. I've read a little bit about him, but you guys love this punter from Iowa. I mean, he must be a machine. And of course, the other guys probably special teams players. I love Fotano. I love Robinson. I love Walker. I think all these guys are going to come in and they'll play a lot of snaps. Fotano, if he is picked, I think he could be the left guard. I think he could start over Volson. I like it, Justin.
Zim, what do you think?
I like it. I like it a lot too. Let me ask you this, Justin. What's your plan for Fotano? Like, if you draft him at that pick, what's your plan?
Yeah, I would say I hope he's competing at the left guard spot. And Trent Brown, as much former Gator, I hope he's there for 17 games a season, but he's had some injury issues. So
the tricky part with him with that is that you be getting him to the NFL. I like him. You be getting him to the NFL, and he's like 24 or something now. So he's a little older. Yep. So you're starting him off at left guard, and then you're switching him over to tackle, if Trent Brown gets hurt or the following year anyway. So then that's the only thing with me is maximizing his age with the rookie contract. And if I'm going to play him at guard, like I was just saying, I think the rounds between 2 and 4 is the sweet spot to get like some really, really elite level like guards itself. So, that's my only argument against that. I think the rest of this thing is a slam dunk. If Darius Robinson is there in the second round, I'm all over it. Devontae Walker, one of my favorite offenses of all time, is the greatest show on turf. You have Isaac Keem with the speed. I love getting speed as a slot and a guy that can push the seam. So Devontae Walker can do that for you. Dwayne Carter is a nasty dude. I was talking to somebody earlier today, like Lil Wayne's real name is Dwayne Carter. So they was like, who you talking about, Lil Wayne? I'm like, nah, it's this dude from Duke, and he's out there punching people, and I hate Duke, but I love this guy, though. He's really, really good. Cade Stover, I think you need somebody for Burrow to grow with at the tight end position, even if it is a lower, round pick. maybe less pressure on him. But I think one of the things that Joe Burrow is going to have to do in the evolution is not take as many chances throwing to the outside, maybe putting the ball in harm's way, and what I call getting into Tom Brady mode and getting a tight end that you can trust as a security blanket. I think Stover can be that eventually. And then, like you said, Torrey Taylor is like the hot name where everybody's just drafting the punter and stuff. I like the Omar Space one. I was actually watching God damn, Jefferson, the D tackle, and Spates was popping off the screen on some of those games. I think a sneaky. I'm stealing this from Mom. Mom always talks about sneaky needs, but a sneaky need is linebacker. If one of these guys go down, remember you signed ADG just for 1 year, which I think is incredible. People are not talking about ADG. ADG could have went and did the what's the kid from the Titans last year? I can't think of his name. He's a Cincinnati kid. But he could have did that 1 year deal thing where he, you know what I mean? Like he goes somewhere else to prove himself. But getting him back, I thought was tremendous. But they got to start preparing at that linebacker position.
I totally agree.
Yeah, and I think the interesting thing so far with both of these drafts, Justin and I's, is we all understand really the Bengals' needs. You know, we both took a couple offensive linemen. We both hit running back. We both hit receiver. We both hit tight end. You know, what's going to be interesting is hopefully the Bengals don't reach, right, guys? I mean, that's the biggest thing is we know that the Bengals need a receiver. We need another receiver. There's no doubt about it. We need another running back to fill up that room. There's no doubt about it. I think we all feel like there's a tight end in this draft that could help this offense. And obviously the situation, the depth on the offensive line and defensive line, obviously still needing to replace DJ Reader. So I think we all have the right idea. It's going to be interesting. And the hope is that the Bengals don't reach to fill any of these holes because they're really not going to have to, right, guys? I mean, there's going to be this draft. We just talked to Jeff Hobson about it. This draft is loaded with talent. I mean, you're going to be able to get good players on day 3 that are going to be able to play football for you in year 1. So hopefully the Bengals they're able to get that best player available, but still fill that need, right?
We'll see. It's going to be, listen, having 10 picks, 4 in the top 100 is huge. Eric, let's get to mine. I'm ready to rock and roll. Let's do it.
Oh, God.
Come on, let's see it. Let's see it.
I can tell you offensive line, defensive line.
Hey, Mon, don't think I didn't. I heard your question earlier. I said, I know that's Mon talking that Bart and stuff. I was listening to the pod earlier, and I said, I know that's Mon.
I brought it up in Spaces, too. Hey, real quick, when I was up 18, I had Newton, Mims, Thomas, Mitchell available. I decided to trade back with the Packers. I got the 25th pick and the 58th pick in the draft for pick 18 and pick 194. I picked Graham Barton, offensive lineman from Duke. I know a lot of people aren't going to be happy with it. Listen, his RAS is off the charts, but it's bigger than that. He has great football tape. This guy, he played left tackle at Duke. He's projected to be an interior lineman. I think he's going to be a long-term starter for the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm excited about him. Jalen Polk from Washington. 3 solid wide receivers in this draft. Aduze, McMillan, and him. It's funny, I was reading up on him. He was the 50-50 guy on that team. He's a slightly bigger, faster version of Tyler Boyd. All right, very tough. He's going to be a slot guy, but he's physical. He's not afraid to help in the run blocking, and his hands are phenomenal. I like him. He's about almost 6'2", 205 pounds. I have him in the second round. Ben Sennett, a lot of people compare him to Laporta last year, the pick for the Lions. A lot of Bengals Twitter love him. 6'3", 250. He's I guess I've read like a few publications, great football instincts. He's a baller. We get a tight end. I know he's not the guy you wanted, Jake, but I got you a tight end. Chris Jenkins, I don't think he'll be there at 80. I think actually the Sennett pick, we could flip those. I think Jenkins could be 58. Sennett could be 80. But Chris Jenkins from Michigan, good run blocker. He doesn't have the run defender. He doesn't have the size of a DJ Reader. He's about 300 pounds. His dad played in the league for years. His dad was much bigger. But Chris Jenkins
was an animal.
He was. He's like 350, 360, I do believe. Jenkins is developing as a pass rusher. I think he's going to come in, be a rotational piece, help out again in that run defense. Blake Fisher, a guy that has 1 year to develop behind the big guys behind Trent Brown. He's about 310 pounds, maybe he can get a little bigger and stronger. Played big major ball at Notre Dame. Andrew Phillips, cornerback. You can never have enough cornerbacks. Played at Kentucky. He's feisty. He could be a slot guy, potentially take over for Mike Hilton. Lloyd from USC is 5'8", 220. The running backs we have now is Zach Moss and Chase Brown. They're about 200, 205 pounds. We need somebody that has a little bit of Joe Mixon in him, a 220 physical presence. Lloyd is that guy, and he's fast also. Logan Lee, defensive tackle. I like this guy. He's a tweener. Is he a defensive end? Is he a defensive tackle? He's really athletic. I think Lou Anarumo is going to find a position for him. Cephas from the wide receiver. I read a lot of profiles. Reminds me of Trent Irwin, special teams guy. He could come in, maybe be a punt returner for us. Dominique Hampton. His measurables, skill set, played at a major university, Washington. I guess he wasn't able to piece it together, but his athletic traits are off the charts. Come in, be a special teams player. I'm happy with this draft. I got a draft crush on Barton. There's something about him. I just think he's a Bengal kind of player.
Justin, why don't you go ahead and tell us first what you think, and then we'll get Zim's take.
So I think we're kind of capturing a lot of the same needs. I will say Lloyd was highly touted coming out of high school, very talented guy, but he has had fumble issues. So that one scares me a little bit. But he is very talented. So could be a nice get if you can, work through that. Definitely want to see a running back in that range. Not sure I want it to be Lloyd. Phillips is a nice get. There's like 5 or 6 corners that are going to be there in those middle rounds. That'll be really, I think, good value additions. He's one. Cam Hart from Notre Dame, Kyrie Jackson from Oregon. I really hope the Bengals can nab one of those nice middle round corners. I like the Senate pick. I really like the 2 defensive tackles. Jenkins is a guy I'm a big fan of, and maybe some of that is watching his dad dominate for the Panthers. He was a freaking animal. But he was Chris Jenkins, the son, was a great player at Michigan. That'd be a really nice get. And Logan Lee is definitely a later round D tackle. That would be a nice get. Liked what you did on the offensive line. Yeah, Barton, the only thing I like his versatility, but he's a little lean, and I thought he was a little slower in the 40. So I don't know. I don't know how crazy I am about that pick at 25, but yeah.
I traded back.
You hit a lot of the needs that the Bengals need. I like what you did with receiver, tight end, D tackle, and you did hit the needs on the O line. So yeah, overall this is solid.
Zim, what are your thoughts?
I like this draft. This is my least favorite out of the drafts, though. I'm not gonna lie to you. I love the trade back to get Barton. And one thing that I am very, very, very much a stickler on this year is the first round guy playing year 1 impact. I do believe Barton would start over Volson immediately. I really do. I don't know if the Bengals have enough hair on their necks to do it, but I would. And I think that but I think that in the versatility, he now immediately you have better depth at the tackle position. If you needed a tackle to come out there, you're not going to Cody Ford. You immediately have a day 1 guard level, guy right there, ready to go. Polk, I think, is like a Tyler Boyd, clone. For me, in a second, it's a little too rich for me. Just because, like I've been saying, I think the Bengals, one thing that I learned over the last couple of years is outside of Jamar Chase, they're slow. Like they don't really have any wide receiver. And it sounds crazy when people say that. T. Higgins is like a deep ball guy, and you're not handing him end arounds. Trent Irwin, he's not a burner. Like they don't really have speed. Polk doesn't give me speed. He gives me possessions. He's tough. You got some of the best wide receivers in the league, like Steve Smith, vouching for him. I think TJ Houshmandzadeh even likes him as well, too. I think he told me that, too. But then you also got Ben Sinnott, who I think is the second best tight end in the whole entire draft. So I love that pick. Chris Jenkins is a monster pick. Getting Blake Fisher in the 5th or whatever round. What round is that? 97? Is that round 4? That's still 4?
That's actually going to be the 3rd round still.
Jesus.
Yeah.
You know, like him right there.
5 picks in the top 100.
Because so that's where it came back. Logan Lee, I watched him a couple of weeks ago. I like him a lot. I think he's really, really tough. Phillips, you know, I think another need that the Bengals front office is everybody is gonna. It could be as early as the 1st round, but they really are looking to get a first. You know, a corner. And I don't know how early it would be, but I wouldn't be surprised if they did it early and often. And a lot of our fans aren't paying attention to Awuzie left here, and he was the highest paid free agent cornerback. And that's saying a lot in terms of they've got to replace that. And that's how I feel about Tyler Boyd. Any other organization lose a guy that has 6,000 yards, 513 catches, they're looking to replace it. And I don't know if that's in the form of Yoshivas. I don't know if that's, you know, the staff isn't that high on Charlie Jones. He's a smaller guy. He got hurt. He played college on the outside. They tried to convert him on the inside. Wasn't exactly what I think they expected. So I think that wide receiver, you know, you picking him in the 2nd, I think is, you know, a good thing. But I wouldn't pull Polk in the 2nd. I think you getting those extra picks though. Blake Fisher, I love that pick. I think that is the still of the draft. I think that that's the one that everyone will be talking about.
Yeah, I made the move. I wanted 5 guys. Having 5 picks in the top 100 to me is huge.
And I agree with that. Mon. I liked Graham Barton the first time we had him when his name was Billy Price. I can't.
What?
Listen, Mon.
Billy Price ain't never moved like Graham Barton, bro.
Listen to me. To me, again, this is all I'm going to say. First of all, let me say this. I'm going to do the start. I'm going to start with a positive. I love Blake Fisher. I almost drafted Blake Fisher. I like that pick. And I do think if he is there that late in the draft, that is a steal for the Bengals if Blake Fisher falls there. I love Ben Sinnott too. I love the fact that you traded back, Mon. I love that. But Graham Barton is not going to see the field year 1. And that's the problem I have with this is that we talk about this team and the window they are in right now. That 1st round pick, I am so tired of these 1st round picks not making an impact. We see it around the league over and over. It seems like every other team picks one guy that makes this huge impact year 1, and the Bengals don't. I just feel that way. Now, obviously, Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. I mean, there's exceptions, T. Higgins, but I'm talking about at that position, at the offensive line position. If that happens, I'm going to be watching the draft.
The comments are killing me.
Listen, I'm going to be watching the draft at Mon's house, and if Graham Barton is the pick, I will be throwing something through Mon's TV.
I'm taking my shirt off and going on freaking StreamYard. That's what I'm doing.
Oh, God. On StreamYard.
Can I say that I've been talking about impact? You look at these teams, there's a fan side of me and there's a front office side of me that just says, I need to maximize a rookie contract. You look at the Lions, what they did with Jahmyr Gibbs, LaPorta, playoffs, year 1 impact. You look at what the Bills did with Kincaid, playoffs, year 1 impact. You look at what the Ravens did with Zay Flowers, year 1 impact. All of these guys, all of these teams are maximizing what they did. In the most extreme case is Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. You maximize what you can get from your 1st round talent, get them on the field early and often, and have them impacted. And it goes much further. You're able to stretch the dollars. And that's the front office mock in me or whatever, but you got to be able to stretch that. But then I also go on the other side and say, bro, I'm so tired of hearing about this offensive line thing. I want this thing to be done with. You know what I mean? If the guy plays or not, I just want that guy to be ready. I don't want that to be a conversation piece either. So I understand it.
Zim,
Oh, go ahead, Mom. Go
Zim,
ahead, Mom.
you brought up a good point. I think the other day in Spaces, you guys were talking about it a little bit. Nobody wants injuries. We can't draft scared. We can't do it. But we got to acknowledge something. The Bengals starting five started every game last year. And, I would love for that to happen again. I hope it does. But you know what? If it doesn't, I want some quality depth. Jake, I get what you're saying. We need players to come in and play right away. But, buddy, we don't have quality depth on the trenches. And you have to use premium capital. And that's why I fell in love with Barton.
And I'll say this, Mom. I don't disagree with that. I want to be very clear with that. I don't disagree with what you're saying because again, 100% agree with you. I just think in this draft, there's going to be an elite skill player at 18. And again, the Bengals are picking 18 this year, but they're not going to pick that low again for a while. If Joe Burrow stays healthy, we're picking in the late 20s, early 30s for the most part if Joe Burrow stays healthy. The Bengals receiver room right now it's not as solid as people might think. I mean, obviously Jamar's there. T right now is on a 1-year deal. Zim talked about Chuck Sizzle. The Bengals are not a big fan, it seems like. Yoshivas, good player. He's a solid guy, and Trent Irwin. But if we're talking about drafting for the future, why not an elite skill player that you can get on a rookie contract and can make a sudden impact this year? That's my argument with this whole thing. I understand that we need help with depth on the trenches, but I also know that I don't want to see Rex Burkhead starting at wide receiver in the playoffs again. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Justin, what do you think?
Well, I actually wanted to bring up something because none of our mocks went Murphy at 18. What's the feeling on a defensive tackle in the first round?
And that's a good point because he was there for me. I don't know if he was there for you guys. He was there
Ooh.
for me, and I loved him. I think that's a great.
I had Newton available. but
You're not a neuter? You're not with the neuters?
No. When I was drafting, no, I wanted I had a cluster of 5 players I wanted, and I traded back and I got one of them.
I'm gonna tell you right now, Newton is from a personality trait. He is the animal dog perfect level. Maybe not the dirtiness of a perfect, but like the dog, like I don't care. I'm going to punch somebody guy. Like I feel like he represents that a little bit. Ma, you know what Barton reminds me of? It's like we all just went to the strip club or something, and it's this stripper just jumping down the pole, and then everybody's like, "Yeah, I mean, she's pretty cool, man. We're just having a couple of drinks, and we're going home, and Ma's still hanging on the pole, trying to take her home."
And you know what her name is?
Let Barton go.
Zim, you know what her name is? Billy Price. That's her name. Like
that is so disrespectful.
Like, gentlemen, get your dollars out. Billy Price is taking the
Billy with an IE.
Yeah, Billy. I like that,
You
Justin.
just drafted Tyler Shelvin in the 4th round. You just drafted Tyler Shelvin in the 4th round.
Who, McKinley? Yeah,
Justin, that is so funny. Billy with an IE. Let's go back
Billy
to
Price
Justin.
doesn't have good feet like Barton. Stop doing that.
Justin makes a good point though, because none of us did go D tackle in the 1st round, and Murphy was sitting there. Do we feel good about this defensive line room, or is it? Yeah, go ahead.
Did you hear what Lapp said though? Lapp said this on the podcast with Dan Hort today. He said, "Are you going to take the 5th or 6th best offensive lineman in this draft, or the number 1 rated defensive tackle?" Because he was talking at 18. What if Murphy's there and then you're down to Mims? He goes, Mims could be a great player. He goes, who are you going to take? I mean, I would take Murphy. All right.
I would take Murphy. I don't want Mims.
That's just a good analogy. He goes, if there's a rush on offensive linemen and you're down at pick 18, 5 offensive linemen. What's that?
There definitely could be.
Yeah.
We're talking about guys like Mims and Guyton who are, like physical freaks but don't have the snaps. I would rather go D tackle.
Yeah, I would too.
I hear you. I will say this. If Mims did have the snaps, I think we'd be talking about him as like a top 10 offensive lineman in this draft. Whereas Guyton, he has a rawness to him that I don't know. Like when Mims was thrown into the fire, like I think his injuries are overblown. It's like a rolled up ankle and something else or whatever. But like when he was thrown into the fire, he does look the part. I wouldn't be mad with Mims. I honestly think the most realistic board to me is Mims, Murphy, and Newton. I really think I think that all those Fatanu, I think all those dudes are gone. And Latham's gone. And I really feel like Mims, Newton, and Murphy is really like the board. And then that's what I was saying earlier. It's like, do we want to just put this whole offensive line thing to bed? Like, I get it. 3 offensive linemen got hurt in the AFC Championship game. It happens. It's crazy. But still, we had no depth behind it, no quality ones. Like, you know, there's so many different arguments that you can make for just let's just get this thing over with. And Mims potentially has a higher ceiling than all of these other offensive linemen. So you have that. But to Jake's point, you're not going to see him year one if Jesus, what's Trent Brown, if Trent Brown doesn't get hurt. So that's the thing with me, because I don't believe that Mims could play inside. I think he's strictly going to be a tackle. I really do. And that's the argument for me. Whereas Murphy and Newton, I think year one, they come in, they play, they take all those Zachary Carter snaps. He paid 500 snaps, believe it or not. I think he takes all of those snaps. Carter's pushed to the bottom of the depth chart. Maybe he's not cut, but they're playing 400, 500 snaps. And Zach talked about it today at his press conference. He said the one thing about getting that interior pressure, like nobody likes it. And I was talking to a quarterback earlier on Twitter and a former quarterback, and they were saying the one thing he said I could not stand is interior pressure. I had to change all of my mechanics. I can't keep my 2 hands on the football. And it's something that they haven't had since Ogunjobi. And I think if you're a Bengals fan, you'll be saying year one, I'm seeing it. It's not like it's on the bench. Year one, Newton, I'm seeing him pressure the quarterback. Year one, Murphy, I'm seeing him like rush into the backfield and maybe even he doesn't make a play. I think he flashes day one, and that is a big component of it. And you got to look at how much these D tackles are being getting paid. Bengals are, I mean, are we gonna call them cheap? They damn sure ain't trying to pay one of these free agent D tackles. If they can get a rookie contract with one of these D tackles, that's the front office side of me that says I think that they might pull that trigger.
Well, I'll tell you too. Go ahead, Mon. I was just going to say real quick, playing the quarterback position, interior pass rush is the worst thing you could possibly imagine. It is worse than anything that you get off the edge or any type of linebacker blitz or any type of stunt. That interior pressure, especially from a 4-man rush, that's the reason the Bengals don't have a ring. I mean, that is the reason the Bengals do not have a ring right now, is because of the defense interior pass rush that they have faced the last 3 years and haven't been able to stop that. And I think that is a really good point. Again, what Justin said was, why did none of us take Murphy? Because he is probably the best defensive tackle in this draft, the best interior pass rush of this draft. And to be honest, guys, I would not be surprised if the Bengals take Murphy at 18. Right? Go ahead, Mom. What were you going to say?
Justin, I want your input on this also. I think it was Daniel Jeremiah today, or one of the national writers, was really talking up Letu, saying that he could arguably be one of the best defensive players in this whole draft. What if he's there at 18? I know we picked Murphy last year. What if the Bengals like, hey, man, he's BPA, it's not even close? I mean, could they shock us and do something like that?
Well, yeah, and I know you've talked about Verse. I'm never angry when a team uses a first-round pick and spends it on an elite pass rusher. It'd be really hard to be upset, but I just feel like the need is there on the interior. And Murphy and Newton is to me, Murphy and Newton are very close. So they go either one of those guys, that's a home run for me. I just, you kind of do have to start looking to the future in terms of the outside pass rush. Hendrickson's he's getting a little older. Yeah, Hubbard, maybe looking to replace him not too far down the road, but just feel like the need is greater now And again, talking about immediate impact, it's bigger on the interior than in terms of the edge.
And this draft, we talk about all the talent in this draft, guys, but the pass rushing part of this draft and the talent in this draft. I mean,
Yeah,
if you're telling me that Myles Murphy would have been possibly the top edge guy in this draft, again, this is not a hit on Myles Murphy, but obviously it's just not a very deep draft at the edge rush position.
Zim, would Murphy have been the number one defensive end in this draft?
No, I think Latu. It's an interesting question about the Latu. I think as rushers, like as all around end prospects, sure, Murphy can. I think getting out of college was a better run defender. But the name of the game with so many quarterbacks dropping back now, on average, even the lowest quarterback dropbacks in the NFL is around like 24, 25 on the low side. So you got to think about how can you maximize getting pressure on them. And I think the top edge rushers like Clark, Verse, and Latu. I think Latu to me is like a top 3 defensive player in this draft. The only reason why I think the Bengals fans, we aren't talking about him that much is because of Murphy just getting drafted at that same position the year before. And then think about like where the snap's going to go. I don't really care about like I like Osai as a person, but I don't care about like Osai if he works out or not. I mean, it's a Mulligetta client anyway. If he has a good season, he's adios anyway, right? But on the depth chart, I just do worry about the development about Myles. He switched sides, and then you would bring in a guy like Latu and then say, we're going to take some of those snaps too. That's the biggest argument to me. I just think that you got to be able to allocate and move it all around. But yeah, I don't know. Murphy wouldn't have been the best. He's a better run defender than all of these dudes. But as far as like a pure rusher, like Verse, Clark, and Latu are better rushers like day one. Latu is freakishly. He's like freakishly. I got this clip of him jumping over a dude, doing damn near a tumble roll, like some of your fireman drills, man. And then he comes out and then he like knocks a guy. Like, I mean, the dude is insane. He looks like a tight end. Like he doesn't even look like an end sometimes. Like he would be nasty. I just worry about that snap distribution and the development of Murphy.
This question is for you, Zim and Justin, because I know how Mon feels about it. But I cannot get over the fact that the Bengals, and I'm jumping here, but I just cannot get over the fact that the Bengals cannot develop offensive linemen, especially from the draft. I mean, again, you look at our offensive line right now, we had to go out and get 4 free agents. Now, obviously, Jonah was playing last year, but we have 4 of the 5 starters were free agents. We do not develop offensive linemen. Anyone can say what they want to. It's like the bottom 10% of the guys we draft actually end up being even average offensive linemen. And I just have this thing about the Bengals drafting offensive linemen in the first round. I cannot get over it. I can't. I know Mon feels like that. Well, you guys keep trying, but I cannot just keep. I can't keep seeing like. My idea is the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and there's no result, but you keep doing it and it keeps setting this team back. It set us back when we lost Whitworth and tried to I'm not even going to talk about Cedric Ogbuehi, but when we went out, we tried to get him. It happened with Billy Price. The Bengals let these guys go and they tried to draft these first rounders and it just was just ended up being not only bad at the moment, but setting this team back for years. What are your guys' thoughts? Justin, I'll start with you. What is your thought about this stigma with the Bengals drafting offensive linemen early? Is it something that we should forget about, or is it something that we need to look at? I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I think in recent years, yeah, and you just named off several of the bad picks, and then of course Jonah didn't work out like we hoped. But But I mean, if you go back before that, the 3 first-round picks on the offensive line would have been Kevin Zeitler, Andre Smith, and Levi Jones. Those were all solid to good picks. So I think we're just in a little bit of a run of bad luck right now. But yeah, I mean, it's still got to address it. I mean, I get what you're saying, and I understand the frustration, but we can't just ignore it. And I don't know why. I don't know. It's bad scouting, bad coaching. I don't know. Well, and then also, there was a little bit of bad luck. I think Billy Price, I think we would have went in a different direction, but we had like 2 centers go right before him, and then we just kind of stayed the course, and ended up.
But then they still have a chance to get.
The Bengals told everybody they wanted the center that Detroit ended up taking too. So they
Ragnar or whatever his name is.
Ragnar. They still had a chance to go get James Daniels, I think, and they didn't do that though.
It's true.
What do you think, Zim? What is this? What is this? Is this a thing that the Bengals? Because even our swing tackle is a free agent. So out of the top 6 offensive linemen on this team, one of them is got a guy we drafted. And what was Volson, a 4th-round pick?
Yeah.
What do you think, Zim?
That's the thing that hurts me is who on this team came here as an offensive lineman, whether it was college, whether it was free agency, and got better. Like, did anyone get better? I ask myself that sometimes, and I feel like Kappa's regressed. I feel like Karras, he's getting a little older, like he's regressed a little bit. Like, I don't, and even if you aren't gonna say he's regressed, he hasn't, you know what I'm saying? He hasn't done it, so. But at the same time, that's why I was asking Justin when I saw his mock. I said, "What's your plan for Furtado?" Because if it's going to be an older guy like that or whatever, have I seen his ceiling? I don't know. And one thing that I think can help the Bengals in the rut that we're in is drafting guys at the position that they are accustomed to playing. Like, not Jackson Carman. I'm playing left tackle all this time, and I think he'll be a good spot over here. Not I'm Dax Hill, and I play primarily in the box. I'm in these rover things, and I'm playing nickels, but I think he'll be a free safety. I think the Bengals got to get in the habit. If you watch the Ravens, who I think are probably one of the best drafting teams in the NFL, as much as I hate them, they take guys that fit directly into their system. They didn't switch up what Kyle Hamilton's doing. They didn't switch up what some of their favorite draft picks are doing, and said, this is what you're going to do, and we're going to draft it at this spot. Like Linderbaum, we're going to draft you and make you the greatest zone blocking center of all time, and we're going to mesh that with what we do already, and it's going to be a slam dunk. And generally, when you're not changing up what guys are doing, then it can work out for you. I think that's part of the problem with the offensive line portion of it. I like, what's so crazy? I like the Jake Fisher pick at the time. It's just they didn't know what they had. They had all this athleticism. And so that's why when I'm looking at the draft now, that's why I said that to Justin. I said, I like some of these guys round 2, 3, 4. Like, give me BB and let him do what he's been doing. Give me Borderlini at center and let him do what he's been doing. He's the most athletic center. I think you can get him in the 4th round. He will be the Ted Karras replacement, and we went Mr. B. That's the thing that I think that they need to do, because I think currently right now they've shown that they are not good at developing guys, and they're not getting the most out of guys' window. And I'm with you, Jake. I don't trust them with that, but I do trust them to be great talent evaluators. But I think that they just need to keep that player at that position and say that's what you are. And I think that will better our chances. And then maybe as the years go on, they can, throw some darts later on. And another thing too, you got 10 picks, throw bodies at the position. Do what you did when you did that linebacker draft and you drafted 3 linebackers. You're going to have some drafts like that, because in the Joe Burrow era, paying this guy $55 million a year, his contract's really flexible. But you're going to have a lot of draft picks. You're going to be collecting compensatories a lot. You're going to get, as Bengal fans, we got to get used to it. And Mon said that we're not going to be drafting pick 18. I'm going to be drafting 32. 30, whatever the hell. I'm drafting the last pick. I'm going to be drafting 20s. I'm not going to be drafting 18. So when I do get that, I need to stockpile picks. You're not going to be able to sign like big time free agents. So there are going to be some drafts Well, they're gonna have to throw some darts at the at the draft boards. Like if it's Polk in the second, cool. Give me another guy. Give me Taj Washington later. Give me, like they're gonna have to do that a lot of times. And if they suck at drafting offensive linemen, shoot, give me three. Do what you did with the linebackers. When we got killed from Lamar Jackson, he put the spin move on us in 2019. We came back 2020 and said we will not let that happen again. We're drafting 3 linebackers that can go sideline to sideline. We come back multiple drafts and do it again. And Diamond, if you ain't doing it good, you better do it enough until you get really damn good at it. Same thing with running the football. You can't you can't run the football. Well, we better run. When Burrow went out, they were forced to run the football. They were forced to screen. They were forced to simplify the game plan, and they did it enough until they did it well, and that's what they're going to have to do, and stop relying on Joe Burrow to drop back 40 times and save them.
And by the way, those 3 linebackers, 2 of them is still on this football team. One of them, in Marcus Bailey, could still be on this football team. He is still sitting out there. And if the Bengals don't draft one in this draft, don't be surprised if Marcus Bailey's back on this team. I want to make one more point, and then Zim, I want your grades on the drafts. But to me, this offensive line thing, the Bengals have this mindset, and maybe I'm wrong, but the Bengals have this mindset of let's just go out and get these athletic offensive linemen instead of going out and getting dogs. Like they don't draft dogs at that position. They draft these Cedric Abuehis and these Jake Fishers that they're athletic guys that they think they can develop into these incredible offensive linemen, and it never works. Go out and draft some dogs. Go get some dogs at that position.
Jake, the Cincinnati Bengals have the least athletic offensive line in the NFL right now. It's not even close. It's not even close.
That's my point.
Well, you were saying a history.
Line.
Yeah, history.
It's a good offensive line, Mon.
Our offensive line is average. It's average at best. Right. Our best player is Orlando Brown. He's our best player, and he's a top 15 tackle in football, top 20 maybe. I get what you're saying. I as you said, my stance on the offensive line and drafting. Horrible luck, horrible coaching. They still got to try. I mean, we all know what's going to happen over the next 2 or 3 years. There's going to be minimum of 3 positions open in that offensive line. They got to start hitting in the draft. I don't care how they hit, 7th, 6th, 5th rounders. They got to hit in the draft because it's expensive to go out and get these guys. It's expensive.
Well, I'll tell you, BB is a dog. So if they get BB, Jake, if your pick comes through, that he is a dog, and he will be. Yeah,
BB. I love BB. I feel strongly about BB. I don't want to put I mentioned Creed Humphrey earlier in this thing, but I don't want to name like players, but there are some guards in this draft that I really think are going to be like in this league doing work, all pro level guys, and BB is one of them.
Jake, I got to give you credit. I'm not a Bowers guy, but I love the guards you got in the draft. Zenter, to me, is going to be a stud. I really think so. His leg injury was horrible. I watched that game. I'm like, it was Tim Crumry kind. His leg was twisted. He's a hell of a player. I think he's a future starter, and BB is a winner.
Yep.
Zim, before we get out of here, do you remember the drafts? Can you give us a grade?
For yours, you got an A. You got an A. Like hands down. Listen to me. If backwards. I hate getting myself all worked up for like a prospect, bro. But I'm telling you, if this dude comes and puts on a Cincinnati Bengal uniform, we are in the bowl. I'm not playing with y'all. Like, it's serious. Joe Burrow's life is going to be so simple. The check downs are going to be like, do y'all know he's the greatest yak tight end of all time? Like in college history. Go look at his numbers compared to anybody that you want. He absolutely smokes any tight end that's ever played in college football. Go look, 1,000-yard receipt. Like this dude is an animal, and they talk about his blocking. Like
and in a good conference, right? Against good competition,
playing against dogs.
Guys, yeah.
And they try to say that he can't block really good. Go watch some Georgia tape. Like when they get near the goal line, any point block that they need on the perimeters, like just getting like a guy, like just enough to get in a guy's way and get Chase Brown out to the outside, like. And just hit a corner like Brock Bowers is going to kill. That alone makes your draft an A. I'm telling you, like I don't care. Like, they have 10 picks. I don't know about giving up a second round or whatever, but like, if they can make it happen, man, I just really think it is people are treating him like he's a normal tight end. For Mon's draft, I do remember you had my least favorite draft, but I'm still going to give you a B+ because I thought what you did later on was awesome. Justin, I'm going to give you a straight up. I'm gonna go A-. Fatano is the only one that just kind of scares me a little bit because he's a dog too. I really like him. I like it. I like all of them. If the crazy thing about all these mocks too is like, I think we've done a good amount of them, even if you've only done like 10 or some people have done 100. But I think we kind of all know if we get this guy and this guy, we got slam dunks here. And every single one of your mocks, I feel like each one of them had like 2-3 guys that I wouldn't even care if I didn't like the other 4 or 5 guys. If you give me like 2-3 of those guys like early in this draft, like I'm like, let's go. Like no problem.
Zim, I've done.
Just so we're clear, Mon is in last place. Just so we're clear.
Not according to the chat board. Not according to Hobson either.
Well, that's why I jumped on Mon.
This dad is a big fan of Mon's draft.
Zim, I've done so many mock drafts on Twitter. I can guarantee you I got the first and second round picks right. I'm going to find those receipts and post it and let everybody know.
Post them. Let them know.
Draft Bowers? Did you ever draft Bowers?
I did, actually. I did.
Okay.
Well, yeah, Mon has done this total 180 because at the beginning of this process, he loved Bowers, and now he hates Bowers.
Really?
Yes.
I feel like he's coming back, though. I don't feel like he hates Bowers anymore. I was talking to him like 4 or 5 days ago. He doesn't hate him anymore.
I won't lose any sleep if we draft him, as long as we get offense. Jake, if we get a Cooper, Beebe, and a Zenter, I'll be happy.
So here's the question. Thursday night, they go up to the podium, and Brock Bowers is the pick. Is Mon going to get a number 19 tattooed somewhere on him? What are we going to make Mon do to celebrate that?
I'm gonna tell you this live right now. Forget it, whether you get the tattoo or not, Mon. This is on record. We're live. Whatever. I'm sending you a Brock Bowers jersey. I promise you.
Yeah.
I'm sending
Mon,
you.
what about me? Zim,
We're gonna buy our own, Jake. We're gonna buy our own.
Jake, we got to go get every colorway. We got work to do. We got like Mon will have his one Brock Bauer. We got to go get every colorway.
Yeah,
and we got to go get some custom ones. We got to go get throwback ones. The Leaping Tiger Bowers. Like
I can tell you right now, if the Bengals draft Barton, nobody is getting a Barton jersey, and I'm throwing something through my.
Mon is.
Barton, we're all rioting, and I don't know if like the Blackburn should like walk around without security after that point. Like it's going to be ugly if they draft like Barton. Like it's going to be nasty. Nobody wants Barton, Mon.
What do you say, Mon?
I'm about to lose my crap on the Sixers. I'm sorry.
Listen,
I'm getting beat up on my show, and I'm getting beat up by the basketball team.
We told you what basketball team to watch, and you won't listen to Zim and I, so it's your own punishment.
I don't know what happened to me. All I hear is Timberwolves bull crap yesterday. I don't know. I'm having a bad sports week, man. It's got to get better.
It's going to. It's Christmas and springtime, guys. A couple days away from the draft. Go ahead, Eric.
Before we get out of here, this isn't going to be the final votes on these mock drafts. Jake's going to learn how to do a Twitter poll. We're going to put them out there, and everybody can go vote. Grade who got the best draft here.
We already know who got the best draft. Zim just said it. Zim is the judge and the jury.
We get 1,000 votes.
He just said Mon is last.
I'll retweet it.
Perfect.
I'll retweet it if y'all put it out there too.
We'll put it out.
If you guys are watching this, it's over 300 people in here right now. I need everybody after this show. These guys are putting in some amazing work. Make sure y'all comment and tell everybody who your favorite mock was. If you can, go tag someone, send a link to someone. Even if you're from another team in the comments, make sure that you comment on this video right after it and tell us what you think and tell them where you think that they did good or where you think they just flat out suck.
Zim, thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming on, man. We really appreciate it. Everybody knows where to find you, Zim, but why don't you tell everybody real quick, if they don't know, where can they find you? What kind of work you're doing right now?
Bengals Pulse 9 on Twitter. That's where you'll find me. Y'all have a good evening.
I love it. I love it.
Zim.
Thank you so much. Okay, buddy. All right, guys. Mock 5.0 is in the books. What do you guys think? Is it going to be? It's going to be a crazy Thursday night. You think there's going to be a lot of trades, Justin?
I do. I think there's going to be a lot of jostling, and I think a lot of it's going to happen there in the teens. I think, especially with the offensive line, it would not surprise me if we see a whole bunch of teams moving around trying to position themselves for that elusive tackle of the future.
I agree. Mom, what do you think? Real quick, you think there's going to be a lot of trades? By the way, Zach Wilson traded to the Broncos. Oh boy, Bronco fans, you got it rough. What do you think, Mon? Any trades?
I would be absolutely stunned if the Bengals traded up in the first round. Maybe in the second or third, if somebody starts dropping, that could see them maybe put a package together to move up and get that player. If anything, they might trade back. They've done that a lot in the second round. They do have 10 picks. I guess the chances of that happening are probably slimmer this year because they have so much draft capital. But if they could get another pick in the top 100, I think they should consider it.
Hey, really quick, guys. Really quick before we get out of here. Iron Man just brought up a great thing. I want to ask you guys real quick. How many quarterbacks get drafted in the first round? Eric, you go first.
Oh, I definitely think 6. I mean, if the question is how many go before our pick, that's probably up for debate. But I think we're gonna see 6 go for sure.
So let's say you say over or under 6. Are you over or under 6?
I'm probably right at it.
Right at it. Justin, what about you, bud?
I think it'll be 6.
6. Mon?
I agree.
Okay.
So let's give credit to Iron Man on that.
Yes, Iron Man. Great question there. And Justin, thank you once again for joining us. A big shout out and thank you to you, Jeff Butch Hobson. Thank you so much for coming on the Bengals Pulse once again and giving us your great insight. As always, guys, if you like this podcast, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to this podcast. Make sure you check us out on all the awesome podcast platforms, Apple, Stitcher, Spotify. As always, follow Mon on Twitter at @TheFireMon. Follow me on Twitter at Coach Jake Owens9. Follow Eric on Twitter at eFlash with 2 H's 88. Follow the Cincinnati Podcast Network on Twitter at CincinnatiPod. Follow Justin Wells on Twitter at Justin L. Wells. And as always, follow the Bengals Pulse on Twitter at Bengals_Pulse9. The same on Instagram without the @ Bengals_Pulse9. And as always, guys, if you like this podcast, make sure you give us that 5-star review. We very much appreciate that. Big shout out to our man, Zim. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, Zim. We really appreciate you guys. Check out all of Zim's work that he does. He does so much great content, him and Ace both, for the Bengals and, of course, our Cincinnati Podcast Network. Guys, we are going to go live. Go ahead, Eric. What were you going to say?
Just before we get out of here, we've done so many of these that it feels normal. Just a huge thank you to Justin for coming on. We've been saying years that Justin is the Mel Kiper of our group. It's great to have you on here and educate us on all these people and all these prospects that a lot of us don't know about. So hopefully we can get you on for some regular shows throughout the year. But we'll always look forward to you being our draft expert and really appreciate everything you've done this draft.
Thank you, Justin.
Thank you, Justin.
It's been a lot of fun. I've enjoyed it.
And don't wait a minute. Don't talk. We're getting Justin on Sunday, right? And we do the Bengals draft wrap. We got to have Justin on. Justin, you gotta join us on Sunday for the Bengals draft wrap. Guys, listen, we are going to go live on Thursday night, right around pick 10-ish, so we can start building up to that Bengals first round pick. I will be at the Abul Hassan abode as we watch the draft together, and we will go live and bring you that Bengals pick live and talk a little bit about it then. And then again on Sunday, we're going to go live again. Hopefully Justin can join us, and we will do a Bengals wrap of draft weekend. All right, guys, that's another edition of the Bengals Pulse. He is Mon, he is Eric, he is Justin. I am Jake. Hooday, Bengal fans. We will see you Thursday night, round 1 of the 2024 NFL Draft. Hooday.
Justin, come over Thursday night.